I make no bones about like how I've generally, at least from a guy who buys comics, when I look at CG for the past, what it boiled down to me is it looked like a. I'm saying it all the time now. I'm just too tired to remember it. It's an EVS buyers club is what it's always felt like to me. And it's because they've set up this situation where the CG kings, as they would be, and this is why I don't want to blame them on like a comic book not being successful, but it's very difficult to find as many eyes as they have and shift them to a project as dedicatedly as that group does. You said some of those guys are live streaming every single day, and they do have their audience. And so, Royce, over, yeah, he does his damnedest to turn people on to stuff. But there's a big difference between the reach that he has and what a lot of those CG creators do. And so, just by not being one of the people that they focus on and choose to uplift, just the volume of people that are even going to ever see what you do is severely diminished. It's like a lot of we in marketing we talk about like, why do you get people to your email list? Well, it's because you don't own Twitter, you don't own Facebook, and their algorithms can change whenever they want, and they can kick you off whenever they want. So the only thing that you can ever own as far as like being able to contact and communicate to people is your email. It's get always get things something that you control, because it's always playing on borrowed time when you're in somebody else's sandbox. And so much of the sandbox, it's like I understand. It's like, oh, if I can get in there, like it's so many eyes on me. It's so many more chances to make a buck. Are you if you're not finding some way to kind of claim all those people as your own, build the list with all those names that pay, like, and keeping them within within your circle as opposed to another circle, you know, I would say, are you emailing them at least once a week? All those types of people to keep them engaging with you and forcing yourself to kind of be a center of a conversation with that audience. It's just going to be near impossible to create the zeitgeist that they create over in that space. So, from my perspective, that's so much of what I see. Is that a good way of putting it, or is it? You think it's more than that, less than that?
I think that is largely true, but I think there's actually a little bit more to it as well. And that's because a lot of the guys you're referring to, they're doing this for a living. Okay, this is their bread and butter. And if in fact this were to dry up, unfortunately, this is their, this is the way they put food on the table. Whereas for me, it's a side gig. As I told you earlier, certified fraud examiner, anti-money laundering specialist, that's what I do to make money to pay the bills. So this comic book thing, the first one broke even, the second one probably lost a little bit, and that kind of thing I can't sustain, but it's okay if it fails. I mean, I'm sorely disappointed that it fails, but it's not going to harm me if it does. Whereas those guys, they've got a lot more skin in the game. I was on my show that one night, I was saying that, EVS has been in the comic book industry for 30 years now. I've been a fraud examiner for 30 years. And as I was saying that, what I was alluding to is the comic book fans don't care about that, right? They really don't. I think that his co host that night said, yeah, those credits don't transfer here, bitch. It's like, no, that's exactly what I'm saying, is that those credits in anti money laundering don't matter to the comic book fans. But to those guys, you say they stream every night, they put a lot into it, and they can afford to because it matters that much to them. And I can tell you this, back in early 2023, EVS invited me to his back room, his DM group. And I thought, oh, this is cool. I'm at the cool kids table, right, with all these pros. What I saw happening there was somebody like, let's say, Billy Tucci would say to the group, hey guys, I've got this campaign coming out. I'm going to tweet about it this afternoon. It would be awesome if you guys could all retweet that to your audience. Although there's a lot of crossover, you might reach some eyes that I wouldn't. So he would ask that, and everybody would say, thumbs up, I got your back, Billy, no worries. And they would all retweet his post. Well, I asked for the same thing in that group, and the only one who retweeted what I posted was Mike Barron. And Mike Barron consistently would do that for me and try to get eyes on my project, but he's the only one. So I said to the group in the DMs, not a blast on Twitter, but just in the back room, I said, hey guys, it would be great if you had my back too. Well, apparently EVS took umbrage with that, and he baited me on Twitter into an argument about whether or not they should have my back. And he said, I baited this guy, and he went right for it. And yes, I did. I'll be honest. I didn't know it was him. I thought it was one of his warehouse workers or something. I was naive. But so he was super rude in that Twitter exchange. And I said, are you serious? Have a nice day. Like it occurred to me that this was ridiculous. Well, he then said, my response was actually, oh, yeah, fuck you. Well, I did not say that. I said, have a nice day. He's a drama tuber, and that's really what he wants to do is stir up trouble and create his enemy du jour. So it was my turn to be his enemy. That too is what prompted him to spurg out about that show, Bend the Knee or You're Not CG. So yeah. if if he doesn't if he doesn't want eyes on your project, he can turn all of CG away. I'm not going to say against you, but away.
Well, they don't have to be against you. Listen, they don't have to be against you if they're not paying attention. I mean, the whole point is about garnering attention, and when that attention goes away, it doesn't matter if they love you, hate you, they don't know you exist anymore, and that's the issue.
Yes, one person said to me, the only reason he did that is he sees you as a threat, and I absolutely 100% disagree with that. I am no threat to any of those comic book pros. However, the point that that makes is his crapping on my stuff actually is all the more cruel because I am no threat. I think that what he's doing is just for drama. Now, for a minute there, I thought, what if this was intentional kayfabe? What if he's doing that in order to put more eyes on me? Yeah, to draw more attention. I'm like, could he be doing that on purpose to benefit me? But no, I don't see it that way. I think it's just a way for him to get the people who want to see a train wreck to watch his show.
I mean, the kayfabe thing, I mean, if you wanna play pro wrestling and and do that, by all means, like, I just know that it takes a very particular type of constitution to do that. Because, I mean, especially, like, if this is your thing and it's your emotions get tied up in your art, and I don't care even if it's, like if it's play to you guys, those people on either side, it's not play to them necessarily. Like, it starts out as a goon, the next thing you know, it's like, well, there's these people that are just want me dead, and they think I'm the worst thing that's ever fucking happened, and how much of that can you watch and deal with emotionally if even if it's kind of a joke, even if it's pro wrestling?
It gets out of hand. It really does. There are people who don't see it for that, if that's even what it is. And, it's also a lot more time and energy than I've got because it's not my day job. For them, if streaming for 4 hours a day is how they make their money, some of them get some significant super chats while they're streaming for 4 hours. He made enough to make my car payment. You know what I mean? In one night. So I I don't know if I fault them for the streaming, but at the other hand, it's the constant need to create that drama that takes away, in my opinion, from the craft.
Well, and as much of the drama I mentioned in our conversation before we start going, it's Ripa. And I guess that is the one thing that I will kinda give the CG guys a little bit of a pass on, is that for a very long time, he was more than happy to milk the drama and more than happy to, as monetize your haters, as he puts it. But I think after a certain point is I think that him trying to take on the big boy task of having an actual comic book company and not just a crowdfunding thing, when he saw like, "Oh shit, I'm paying people salaries now," like, people if I screw this up, lives are on the line, families, like, that are taken care of. I think, of course, he's as we said, he's a much younger guy than I think most people realize. 'Cause he's a very masculine man, the big beard. He looks like an older dude that I know he is. I think there was a big or at least a fair amount of growing up that happened, and you realize, I don't have the energy or the time to deal with this crap. I mean, yeah, there was a point in time when it worked, and so he kind of rewrote the type of position that he was okay with having in the middle of the game to a lot of people. His monetize your haters mentality shifted to more like, I don't have time for drama, talk shit if you wanna. And I can't blame the guy for doing that. I mean, to me, that seems the smarter move. But like I said, he kind of rewrote the script for a lot of people when he did it.
It was a sudden turn. You're probably right there. But you're right. If he's going to be serious about this business, you need to step away from the drama and get back to the making of the comic books. And I think that a lot of people are recently pointing to that. Like, hey, are you a comic book creator? Or are you a drama tuber? Because it seems like you can't be both. And I don't dispute that. I really don't think you can be both. You've got your passion needs to be in one or the other. If you're going to be a comic book creator and crank out the comic books on a regular schedule, or at least as often as you can, based on your other responsibilities and priorities, then that's what you need to focus on. And I don't know which one provides more income, but honestly, it's the comic books themselves that are my passion. As a collector for more than 50 years, I'm not a drama tuber. In fact, because all this was going on, I canceled my show. I don't do my show anymore because I don't have the energy. I'm not the kind of person that wants the kayfabe. So yeah, if in fact that's even what it was, that's not my passion. My passion is making the comic books.
Well, and that's another thing. Aside from like the logistics of how that whole thing is and the drama they can set up, there is a real issue, I personally think, with pretending that there's not a life cycle on the crowdfunded model.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
The idea that people are going to endlessly like comic book collecting isn't the thing it was in the 90s. Expecting all of these books to fetch higher and higher prices and be worth, bucks to pay. There's been a lot of goodwill that I think is kind of gets eaten up a little bit more as time goes on within those communities. And a lot of that goodwill exists because of some of the political elements in the world today, or maybe we thought these people were unfairly, kicked out of their positions within like proper society and they deserve some of this, or, you know, I'm willing to pay a premium for content that I specifically want. But the bottom line is like there's people putting out 30-page books and you're paying 20, 25 bucks on these things. You're like, this this is a $3, $4 book on the shelves, guys. I can't. Prices are inflated. And it's not like any of these books are things that are going to have collector's value in the future. That's why people get so pissed about Ripa and he'll have these sales and like lowers prices on books. It's like, well, it's because he understands the long game is that if we want to keep this being successful, you can't be charged 25 bucks for every book. Eventually, you're paying the 25 bucks maybe here to have early access before the rubes get it. And that's to me a part of the economics. I think the video game industry is actually what screwed this up because I'm sorry, when you release a new video game system, it should cost $5,000 and you're only going to make 10 of them. But those 10 that you make that go to those people that had to have it the day it was released is what's going to make sure that every kid in the country has one later on. And then buys the same game. It's like, sure, those people only pay 300 for the system because it was front loaded the cost on the early adopters. But then that also means so many more people get to enjoy the games and spend money on the games because you've built up a much bigger ecosystem by allowing that to happen. And that's more of what I see with what Ripa's doing is you want to wait 2 years for me to sell it for $5? Go ahead. This is what the early adoption price is. This is what it costs to help this thing continue to grow.